Hey guys, welcome to Cherryduck Studios. It's Dave here with Hireacamera TV, and we've got a little bit that we're going to do for you now. I'm going to show you a little bit about lighting. So you see behind me I've got a few lights set up, but we're also going to show you some other lights that we have off camera, because we want to talk you through the difference between flash lighting and constant lighting, and also show you some pretty cool new stuff. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll have seen that we talked about Rotolight a while ago. We went down to Rotolight, and they've sent us some of the new lights that they showed us. And we're going to have a little play with those and just create some really nice headshots of our lovely Emily. Emily, would you please come over here? Okay, so Emily is our model for the day. And as I say, we're just going to do some really nice, very simple headshots. And I'm going to start off by doing headshots with flash lighting. This is what I would normally do. I've got my Canon flash guns. I've stuck them in some Lastolite softboxes, that kind of thing. I'll be getting some really simple, really nicely lit, very easy to do corporate style headshots. And then we're going to take the flashlights out and I'm going to replace them with our Rotolights. And we'll see if we can do much the same thing. Now, the thing that's key about this is a constant light has a constant output. It's used for video. And if you're doing a shoot that's a combination of stills and video, then instead of putting up flash lighting and constant lighting, just doing everything on constant lighting is great. The trouble is you can't always get enough power out of a constant light for flash. So one of the things that we're going to be showing you with the high-speed sync on, certainly on the Neo 2 that we have, we've got Neo 2s and we've got a couple of Aeoses. On the Neo 2s, when they go into high-speed sync, we can get more power out of them than they can give in their constant lighting. So I think the Neo 2 has a lux value of about 2000 lux. When you run off AAs and you go to your high-speed sync, you get about 5000 lux, so you're getting about an extra stop of light. And if you run off a V-lock with an adapter or you run off the mains, you get an extra 2 stops of light in each flash. So that's something we're going to be having a look at. We're going to see how well it works. We'll talk a bit more about lighting, give you a few other tips and tricks, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll have a bit more understanding about A, what the Rotolights do, and B, how light is used. So we're in a big white studio, and as I said, we're going to create some nice corporate, simple headshots, kind of head and shoulders. We're probably going to do something a little bit interesting with some colours as well, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I've put Emily in the position, kind of roughly where I want her to be. Obviously, it's just white walls. I'm not too interested in exactly where she is at the moment. I need to start getting some lights. So I'm going to bring in my main light, which is this one here. Emily's going to disappear because I'm going to put it in front of her. So here is, for those of you over there, this is an 80 centimetre octabox. It's probably my go-to light source if I'm using flash. And I've put a grid on the front of it just to help control the spill. I don't want the light firing through to the background too much. So I've got it around about head height. I'm just going to drop it a fraction, just so that it's a little lower. And I've put it off to Emily's left. So this is going to be our key light. I'm not too worried about the ambient light that's in here, particularly. I'm going to probably use that for other stuff in a bit, but I'm going to try and tone it down at the moment. So to begin with, I just need to make sure the group A, that's this one, is turned on. And Emily, if you wouldn't mind just sort of turning yourself into the light and then bring your shoulders back and your head back a little bit, and we'll start with something nice and simple, lovely. Okay, so we've got a nice simple single light, but I'm feeling there's a bit too much shadow down the right hand side of my face, and obviously I could go put another light in here, but I have access to polyboards. It's like a very big reflector, so I'm just going to slide this in. There we go. And this is just going to help bounce a little bit of the light back. As this fires across, we're going to get a little bit of fill back. It's just going to lift the shadow under the unlit side of her face. So there you go, yeah, if you just turn yourself in again, just take half a step back, would you? There we go, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, see, and now let's just, see how it's just lifted the shadow off this side of the face? Looks much nicer. Okay, so we've got a very simple single light with a fill, but I want to create a bit of a separation. I just want to make it stand off a little bit from the background. If you're doing a corporate headshot, it's nice to make them look a little bit nicer. You can do it with a single light, but if you can add in a little bit more light, create a bit of separation, you create depth in the image, and the images will look a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to bring in one light more around the back, and this I've got in a strip box, and this is literally just going to fire across the shoulder and the back of the hair, just to help separate her from the background. There we go. So this is group B. I just need to turn group B on, and I'm going to take the power down because we don't need a lot of light out of it. There we go, that's great. So just again into the main light. Perfect. Lovely. And just get your hand up into your hair for me. That's beautiful. Yeah, hold that. Now we've got some nice simple shots. We've just done 2 lights, but I'm going to change it up a little bit because the light in here, I'm recording some of the ambient light, and it's a bit, what do you think? It's a bit yellowy and yeah, the background, we want to do something with that, right? And make it a bit different. So, just going to employ a little trick. And I'm going to make the background go blue. But I'm going to do it not by firing any light on it. Okay? So what I need to do is change the colour of this main light. So if I change the colour of this main light, I can make it different relative to what else is in here. So I'm going to make this light yellow. So this is, I've got a little Lastolite mounting strobo unit here, yellow gel, and all I'm going to do is just drop it on the front of this light. By changing the colour temperature, this light then becomes very yellow. And if I match my white balance, to tungsten, then Emily will stay neutrally coloured, i.e. looking natural. She won't end up with a horrific tan. Do you want a horrific tan, Emily?
Yeah, why not?
You want a horrific tan? God no. Okay, maybe we'll have to give you a horrific tan just to show you. So I'm going to make the light coming out of her yellow, but I'm going to balance my white balance by setting it to tungsten so that Emily remains neutral. That means the remaining light that's in here is, instead of being that kind of yellowiness that we had before, we're going to turn it blue. So we're going to create a nice blue background, make it feel a bit cooler. Okay, so we just need to tilt that back this way. There we go. Right, and I change my white balance to tungsten. All the same settings that we had before. Yes, there, hold that. Look at that.
It's blue.
It's all blue. Now, just to show you, I'm just going to give you your tan that you asked for. Trust me, it's going to be a bit odd. Yeah, go on, give me a bit of fun. You look like an Oompa Loompa. Everyone has to see this. Okay, this is why we change our white balance, because when we change our white balance, we get the lovely blue. Okay, so we're done with this now. We've created some nice simple headshots of Emily. We've done with the kind of a yellowy background, which is the ambient light that was in here. We could actually turn that away. We could take our shutter speed up, go a long way into high speed sync and get rid of that, but we're gonna stay as we were because I quite like the blue that we've now created. We're going to strip these lights out, we're going to bring the constant lights in, the Rotolights, and we're going to see if we can't do much the same thing. Right, so we've stripped out the flashlights, the speed lights that I was using in the softboxes, and we've now brought in, just to begin with, one LED. So this is a Rotolight Aeos. Now obviously it's a constant light, so I'm going to have to work out my exposure a little differently. So I'm just going to bring it in. We're running it off mains, although we can also run the Aeos off V-Lock. I'm just going to drop it down a little bit as well, so it's a little bit more level. If I have it up too high, one of the great things about constant lighting is you can see exactly what the light looks like. So I'm just going to turn the power down because I noticed Emily's doing this.
Just put my sunglasses on.
You can see exactly what the light's doing, where it's falling. So as I turn it into her face and away, I can see where the shadows are, and I can also see where they are under the chin, but also, I mean, if you wouldn't mind just looking towards my hand here, the light in her eyes. So we have no catch light here, but as we come down, we're bringing in the catch light, and bringing the catch light in is really nice because it just brings life to the eyes. So you don't want to go too high on your light source. Now, these Rotolights, you can set the power in single percentage points. So I've just set this to about 70. And we can also set the colour. So the colour at the moment is set to 5,500 Kelvin. So I'm just going to make sure on my white balance that I'm on 5,500 Kelvin here, which I'm going to do just through the menu. There we go. And now, hopefully, it should be nice and neutral. So, Emily, as before, if you wouldn't mind just turning yourself into this light a little bit, please, and then, yeah, that's it. Bring your head back. You just run your hand through your hair and just straighten. You've got a couple of little lumps sticking out over this side. There we go. Beautiful. Right. So, continuous lighting. Okay. Lighting's quite nice. It's quite soft across your face. We've got a little bit of light in your eyes. Not so bad. We're not happy about the background, are we? We much prefer the blue we had earlier on. Yeah, we'll get back to that. Now, we've got some pictures, but I want to bring in a separation light. So I'm just going to bring in the other light that I've just put down. There it is, the one that I put in place. I'm going to bring in this is the Neo 2. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to make sure that I set the colour temperature to be the same. So we need this to be at 5,500 Kelvin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my trusty assistant. Hello, Guy.
Hello, son.
Say hello.
Hello.
You thought you were going to get away without seeing him, didn't you?
I thought I'd be under the camera. Right.
Right, so Guy's going to come around the back. And there we go. We're going to turn this up nice and bright. And you're just going to fire this at the back, and you're going to create the same sort of separation light that we had before. Just come down a little bit. There we go. Now, I want to know how much light I've got coming off the back. So I'm actually going to turn this front light off to begin with, because I want to see exactly what that separation light is. And Emily goes, oh, you see it again. Thanks very much. Right, so we'll see how much light we've got just down the back of her hair for that kind of hair separation light. So, hey, that's not bad. Guy, could you come in just a little bit closer and onto this shoulder a little bit more? There we go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Just going to make that a little stronger. There we go. So we have much the same sort of separation light that we had before, which means we now need to bring the front light back in. We already had that power set up. So hopefully I should turn it back on, and we will be much about where we were. Right. And then, yeah, hand up into your hair, really nice. Just kind of push it up a little bit. That's it, just creates a bit of shape. Okay. Now, I just want to take away some of the shadow that I've got coming down Emily's right, left as I look at it, side of her face. So I'm just going to bring this back in again. This is going to help reflect a little bit of the light back. It's just going to help open up that shadow a tiny little bit.
Am I running now?
Pardon?
Am I going now?
No, you're staying exactly where you were. Exactly where you were, so yeah, there we go. Perfect. And we can already see that as I've put this in, it's just, even as I run my hand across, there's like creating a shadow coming back and it's gone again. So it's just going to open that side of the face. Okay, perfect. As you were, please, Guy, and Emily, yeah, we'll go for a bit of hand through the hair. And now just push your hair up a little bit, create that bit of a bump, bit of shape down the side for me. It's also going to help me see the side of your face. Chin down a bit. Lovely.
So a question for you.
Far away.
If you didn't have one of these, what would you use instead?
You could put another light in. So, for example, if you're going to use these, this is the Neo 2. The Neo 2. If you're using a Neo 2, you could have like the 3-light kit that you're going to be is going to be available to rent. So you could have a main, you could have a fill, and then you could put a hair light, separation light behind, which will work beautifully for stills, but would also be a really lovely setup if you're doing video interviews as well. Obviously, the dual duty of a constant light being for stills and video. Now, we've got that shot, but what we really liked was the blue that we had earlier on, didn't we? Emily was all about the blue. So, we need to make this blue again. And we're going to use exactly the same trick. I'm going to make this light very tungsten. So, if I do this, there we go, that's now 3,150 Kelvin. You can leave that one as it is, please, Guy.
Okay.
You don't need to be turning it on or off. And I'm going to change my white balance in here and set it as close as I can get it to 3,150, which will be 3,100. And now, by some magic, there we go. Yeah, give me the hand and the hair one, because that's, you do that so nicely. Lovely. There you go. And chin down a fraction. There. Ta-da!
It's back!
The blue is back!
Very nice.
Okay, cool. So now we've done this with constant lights. What we need to do is actually make use of some of the cool features that the Neo 2 and the Aeos have in them, which is we're going to make them flash, and we're going to make them flash remotely. So Rotolight have teamed up with Electron, and they have created, built into the Neo 2, or available on a separate trigger here for the Aeos and the Innova, a remote triggering system for flash. So you can use the EL Sky port, obviously I've got a Canon one to mount on the Canon camera, and that's going to trigger these. That's hopefully going to mean that I can turn the brightness down so we don't blind Emily quite so much, and then we're going to get the flash. Okay? So let's do that now. Okay, so I've put the Sky port on top of the camera. I have made sure that the Neo 2 and the Aeos are connected, and I've turned them into their flash mode. So it's quite simple to use the menus on the back of the Rotolights. You push the two buttons, you turn right, it's flash, you make sure you turn that on, and you'll notice that we still have light coming out of these lights, but it's a lot less bright than it was when they were in constant light. That's because this is giving us a modelling light, which means that we can still see where the shadows are falling, whether our light's too high or too low, whether we've got catch light in the eye. But is it as blinding?
No.
Not as blinding. It's much, much less powerful. So you can actually look without being a bit. So let's see what it works with in flash. There we go. It works. Yeah, there, hold on. We've still got blue,
Yay!
but now instead of you being blinded by constant lights, you're getting a flash. Are you happier?
Yeah, you can hardly tell it's flashing as well.
Really?
Yeah.
It's very fast duration, and that's how we can get into the high-speed sync that we're going to go and do in a little bit. So, what we've seen so far, we started with flash. I used an octa and a strip, and we created a very nice two-light setup with a bit of fill, and then we added some gel in there to try and make the background blue. And then we've mimicked it with an LED Rotolight and an LED Neo 2 Rotolight as our backlight. And we've then gone from constant lighting to flash lighting with these. So, as we said before, they're dual duty, you can do both. Now we're going to pop outside in a little bit, and we're going to try the high-speed sync out there, because that's where high-speed sync really shines. No pun intended. I could hear Guy laughing in the background before I finished the sentence. So that's where high-speed sync is really most useful. So we're going to go and give that a go now and see how we get on. Okay, so we've come outside now, and unusually for the end of September, it's actually a bright sunny day, but that's really good for what we want to show, which is high-speed sync, and using these lights, the Neo 2 and the Aeos, in their high-speed sync setting. So I've positioned Emily out here. We've got this wall behind, and I'm going to shoot very wide open on the aperture. I'm going to shoot fully at 1.8. Now the trouble is that to avoid that wall blowing out in the background with the light that's hitting it, I'm going to have to take the shutter speed up. So I did a quick test, and at ISO 100 f1.8 I'm at 2,000th of a second. Now that is well into high-speed sync territory. Anything above, on this camera, anything above 200th of a second is into high-speed sync territory. So it's going to be a real challenge to see how these get on, to see whether they work. And we're going to try and mimic much the same light setup as we had before. We haven't got the reflective fill on one side. To compensate for that, I've just brought the Aeos round a little bit more, so that it's a little bit more front. It's going to cast a bit more light wrap around the face. And we're going to have the Neo 2 in the background as that background light. I've still got the EL Skyport controller on the top. I've made sure that everything's connected and communicating, and they're both set to high-speed sync. So let's see how we get on. Right then, Emily. Yes, Guy, you're going to be nice and close, please. And we just take half a step that way. Actually, Guy, take a step back. I just want to make sure we're nowhere near that bin. There we go. bins in backgrounds, not so good, not so good. Right, so yes, right hand in here, kind of as we had up there. We're going to get that lovely, soft, out of focus background. As Guy said, fluffy wuffy. There's the light in the eyes. Now, just to complete the comparison, I'm going to turn this back on and you're going to turn that on. And we're going to be in non-flash, so we're just going to be in constant light. And we'll see just how much light this puts out, and then we can compare it. Thanks. There we go. We can compare it. I'm even going to take this off so people know we're not cheating, to what we had before. So same settings as we were at, 2000th of a second, f1.8, ISO 100, and we've now got this constant light going on. It's a little bit darker in the face, not as much light coming out. So as soon as we've gone into constant light, obviously we're not getting as much light out of the Rotolights as we were when they were in high-speed sync, when they could give us that very short duration pulse and get themselves that little bit brighter. So, interesting test. I think it's actually worked. I think we've proved the theory that the high-speed sync actually works and you can use it for creative purposes. And I think we should probably head back inside.
It's worth mentioning that obviously we're only using one of these.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I know people are going to ask is, okay, but if you wanted to actually really completely darken out the complete environment around Emily, at this present moment in time, having this one and this one is not enough to be able to do that.
Yes.
So you'd really need to be looking at 2 Aeoses minimum to actually get that effect where literally everything else goes black around it.
In comparison to a flash gun or studio light, when these flash, they don't give as much light. We don't have an exact figure, they don't give us a guide number. We do know the lux rating, but it's kind of hard to compare lux to guide numbers. So definitely these aren't as powerful as a flash gun or as a studio light. And yes, if you want to make the background properly black, if you want to totally tone it down, you're going to need to start putting a couple of these together to try and get enough light out of them. But I think in this instance, obviously that's a very dramatic dark background. In this instance, we've managed to create something quite nice, quite pleasant, quite simple, and
with
very
just
quick.
2 lights.
With just 2 lights. So we've come back into the studio, and there's one other thing of high-speed sync that I wanted to show you, which is capturing a little bit of motion. Now, Emily's got this lovely dark hair that she can flick around, create some movement. So we're going to try and get one of those pictures with the hair coming around. And that means I need a fast shutter speed. So I've set the camera, I've switched cameras actually. I'm now on a 1DX Mark II, just to give us a bit more frame rate. And I've set the camera to 3,200th of a second, nice and fast. We've still got the aperture reasonably wide open, not totally wide open because she's going to move a little bit, we need a bit more depth of field. And the lights, so the Aeos and the Neo 2, are still in our high-speed sync setting, and we're triggering them from the Skyport. And all I've done, all I'm going to do is get Emily to a standing position. We've put a fill light in as well, effectively, with our reflector, because we're only using 2 lights. And we're just going to get Emily to stand on the spot and swish her hair around, and she's going to create those lovely shapes and that movement, and we're just going to try and look at the camera as she passes through. And what we'll see with these lights is that their recycle time is incredibly fast. So we've got this high-speed sync, but they're recycling instantly because they work in a different way, because LEDs fundamentally work differently to filament bulbs. They don't need to charge, it doesn't take as long to charge. So you can get continuous shooting and you can keep going almost indefinitely. We're running off mains power, which means we're getting that bit extra light out. So we're at like, certainly on the Neo 2, we're at 500% over what we would have as a constant light. And they will just keep recycling as I shoot. So I can shoot extremely long bursts as Emily spins, and we'll be able to get the same light in every shot. So we're going to give that a go now. Okay, Emily, you know what to do. So if you want to just turn yourself away. There we go, perfect. Let me get some focus. So if you wouldn't mind turning yourself back so I can see your face. Lovely, perfect. Okay, and turn away. This one's nice.
Yeah.
Just towards the end of the sequence, a little bit of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah? I think we got it?
Yeah.
I think we did. Well done, little lights. Right, thank you, Emily.
That's alright.
I think we're probably done with this shoot.